Coming to you every week from no place in particular. This Coming to you every week from no place in particular. It's the best, worst thing you've never seen. This is the Forever Road Podcast, featuring Bosco. Find us on some great platforms like iHeart, Spotify, and even more as we keep growing. Now, pointed down that forever road, he's a music lover, a historian, and a connoisseur of the obscure. It's Bosco, here on the Forever Road Podcast.
What's going on, brothers and sisters? Should I say, who got the chance this Sunday? Everybody can see me? There's Marine's Blood and Tyler. Thank y'all for being in the chats. Thank y'all. We got a lot to cover, dude. I'm tell you what. I've gone over a couple hours of this, and I got inspired for what we're about to cover today. So I'm going to just go right over our whole Today in Music intro, that whole thing. But, because it's a lot. And I'm excited. And I've been doing housework. I got just a little bit more to clean up in here. But either way, a little bit more to clean up in here. I got just a little bit of room to put house stuff in my storage unit. Everything else is like outside stuff, utility room, or as I call it, the utility room. I pulled it out, cleaned everything up, threw it in a box, taped up the box, stacked it in the corner, and put a deadbolt on that door going to the utility room so nobody can get in there but me and the people who buy the house. Cool. Pay me. Here's your keys. Have a good one. Yep. Getting close. Very close. For those who are listeners, and I'm converting everything over as we speak. Matter of fact, one episode downloading over to Spotify in the background. I'm a few episodes behind on that. I didn't realize how far behind I was, honestly. But I'm kicking everything over to Spotify, or trying to. And yeah, trying to get caught up. There's no food in the house. I've been doing yard work, doing cleanup in here. That's why the room's reversed. But yeah, it's sweep, mop. Went ahead and sprayed for bugs. Got a little bit more to clean up outside, cut the grass, trim the bushes. And that's about it. I mean, aside from my project vehicles that are going to stay here until... What's going on, Johnny? They're going to stay here until I move. And there's Brother Dan X in the chats. Thank y'all. But we're going to get it all taken care of. I put new doors. So we got a RamCharger update. And so I'm changing the name, keeping the name Lil Martha. Because when I first bought the 87 D100 pickup as a project, I was initially looking for a RamCharger. And there was none on Marketplace, none close by anyway. So I settled on this Dodge pickup. Same body style. I said, and Dan X probably remembers. So I rode up, me and my buddy Catfish rode up there, got it, brought it home. And as of Facebook memories, I don't remember, it was like the other day. As of that day, it was showing I've had that truck for 4 years. So yesterday I pulled the doors off of it. So, okay, sorry. You got distracted. So when Dan, Mr. Flapper Atkinson, there's Brother Turtle in the chats. So when Dan called me, told me about the RamCharger, I just got excited because, like I said, I've always loved those RamChargers. If you don't know what a Dodge RamCharger is, just check it out, Google it, RamChargers. Anyway, and Brother Turtle remembers too. So I got super excited. I knew what I needed to do. Yes, it's completely stripped, aside from an engine and transmission. If y'all follow the Facebook page and the Instagram page, you see pictures of it when I picked it up from Dan's and the video that we shot with Brother Derek from Bad Dog Health and Fitness. So I got it down here. It's still sitting on the carport, sitting up on jack stands. My oldest kid came over yesterday, had the best day in a long time. We hung out. We did car stuff. We pulled the doors off of the 87 pickup, put them on my RamCharger. They close fine. Everything lined up. The body line's great. Even the door gap, is just dead on all the way around. All I got to do is just do the weather strip inside. I picked up some black power seats out of a 2010 Caravan, and I was going to mount those today, but it started raining, and I wanted to do some more research on this for today's topic, so this was more important. I actually got called in from work, and I had already gone down there today, and they said if I could go down there, fine. If not, fine as well. So I was like, dude, I'm busy. I've already been down there once. So still utilizing the name Lil Martha for my RamCharger, because that's what the original idea was anyway, to name it one after the song, the Allman Brothers Band song, Lil Martha. Also, me, Mom, Papa Harrington, y'all probably heard me say this before, had a RamCharger when I was little. They passed away in 94. Like November. No. Anyway, they passed away in 94, and I've always wanted a RamCharger. So I'm working on that. And that's what I was doing yesterday. And Jay came over and helped me with all that stuff. I'll probably do my sound deadening stuff and front carpet section sometime this week. The carpet's gross. It needs to be pressure washed and vacuumed. And then I'll mount the seats in there. Then I'll mount the dash and pull all my parts off and pull the cab off and tell Dan to come get his stuff. So anyway, I hope everyone had a great week. I'm looking forward to this episode. This is fun. I usually don't get into this topic because I have a friend of mine who runs an entire podcast surrounded solely on Dukes of Hazzard history and all that, and episodes and different, generally 1, 2, 3, 12, 19, whatever, with all respect to Corn Dog, over there at the Kibby and Friends show. But my listeners, you know what I mean? So if you grew up, and you can put it in the comments, if you grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard, or if you didn't, this show was like, so we're gonna go ahead and go right into it. This show, the cultural impact right off the rip, on paper back then, well, even today, it didn't work. Yeah, right. I'll never grow up. So right off the rip, we're talking about, let's see, I wrote some notes down, so bear with me. the fall of 78, these guys come together. And right based off of this idea that Guy Waldron had, he had done, and I'll introduce the characters as we go along. So we got Guy Waldron, the creator, writer. We got Waylon Jennings. We have Sonny Schroyer. We have John Schneider, Tom Wopat. I don't know if we're going to go down the list. Tom Wopat played Luke Duke. John Schneider played Bo. Catherine Bach, Daisy. I don't even know why I'm looking at the list like I don't know this. Sora Book played Boss Hogg, which I got to meet John Schneider. And I'm just going to go over these little highlights real quick. So, John Schneider, they did a Dukes of Hazzard reunion in Byron in 2012, Byron, Georgia, at the old Bryan Raceway. And I got to meet John Schneider, got a picture taken with him. It's somewhere in some file somewhere. I don't know. Probably on my old laptop. Anyway, and I got to meet James Best. I don't remember when he passed away. James Best played Roscoe P. Coltrane, which in the show is Boss Hogg's brother-in-law. Boss Hogg was married to Lulu, original Hogg, Lulu Coltrane. And then you have Ben Jones, who played Cooter Davenport. Ben Jones would later become a Georgia congressman in real life. Sonny Schroyer, who, and we'll get deeper in the Sora Book and all that. Sonny Schroyer, who was also in Smokey and the Bandit. Ben Jones himself, he was in Smokey and the Bandit. Very first opening scenes when the Big and Little Enos were walking through the truck rodeo. There's old boy leaning up against the truck. And he goes, "Hey, man, have y'all seen the Bandit?" And he goes, "Oh, you seen it?" That's Ben Jones. Somewhere in that scene, I was told that John Schneider is also in that. So you had Sonny Schroyer, Enos Strait, Deputy Enos Strait, Sonny Schroyer, Ben Jones, and John Schneider. All of those guys were in Smokey and the Bandit, which we covered a couple seasons. Now I'm thinking about kind of revisiting that. Any day, yeah, there you go. When I married your fast. Dead says the only debt I ever owed you was paid in full when I married your fat sister. Yep. So I don't know what y'all talking about in the chat. Y'all are having your own discussion. Anyway. And speaking of this, and in my research and watching the documentaries, watching the YouTube videos, and writing my notes and all that stuff, I kind of got curious and went on their website, cootersplace.com. And it's a really cool. I do actually have a autographed copy. I don't know where it's at. The case is autographed by Ben Jones of the movie, the DVD Hazzard Nation. So if you want to learn a little bit more, greater in depth and more than what I cover here, you can go online and order it yourself. Cost you about $20. You'll be good to go. So the cultural impact, I believe, for the show, if you want to look at Guy Waldron writes this movie. It's kind of a B-rated movie. It's called Moonrunners. And it's based off the story of this guy, Jerry Rushing. He's a moonshiner in North Carolina. And he was telling Guy Waldron all these stories about moonshine, about running from the law, about all this and how they lived their lives and all that. So the story, Dukes of Hazzard, is actually based on a Kentucky town, a place in Kentucky. It's named after, anyway, borrows the name from Hazzard, Kentucky. This is all the stuff I've picked up on my research. Now, the cool part about this was the movie Moonrunners the balladeer from that movie is the same balladeer that we get in the TV show, or nowadays they would call him the color commentary, but balladeer sounds a little bit more apropos, right? Is Waylon Jennings. He's also the balladeer in the movie Moonrunners. Last episode we covered, last week, was about Waylon Jennings. So I figured it'd be a great send-off and great kind of wrap-up for the month. We had Waylon Jennings. We talked about NASCAR, this whole thing. Also in association with this whole TV show from the Dukes of Hazzard is NASCAR kind of related as well. NASCAR started racing in the South. Racing popped up in the United States right after World War II, across the country, right? Guys come back from the war, they're still thrill seekers, whether you have your California guys out north, out west, they're thrill seekers, they're running drag racing in SoCal and all that, right? Well, down south, we had guys running moonshine, trying to make money. Well, they've been running moonshine since before World War. If you follow the Dukes of Hazzard family, the Dukes family story, they've been making moonshine since before the United States of America could tell them, or was even formed. But NASCAR, that's why NASCAR came about, was running from the revenue man, as they called it, or running from just the law, period. So Jerry Rushing would tell Guy Waldron all these stories, and then of course they come up with the movie. Then he presented the show to CBS. CBS tells him right off the rip, all right, well, let's do this. Some hardcore critics, and for some reason, if you're not born and raised in the South, like legit growed up in the South, maybe in some cases you think we're kind of backwards. We're kind of, sleeping with your sister, cousin, however you get down, whatever. I don't know. We're backwards. We're narrow-minded. We're a bunch of racists. We're a bunch of this, that, the other. So largely since the Civil War, how was it put? Since the Civil War ended in the South, it never for a long time, it didn't end. You fast forward another 100 years, we're still demonized. We're still, even nowadays, again, it's like a cycle. But the civil rights movement coming through with, all that mess that was going on across at least the South, and finally there you saw a turn in the late 60s, early 70s, and late 70s, in the early 80s, kind of carried on up through the late 80s, but you saw this turn where the South was finally, we're largely poor, largely blue collar, really kind of looked down upon because of our laid back Southern ways, or they just think, automatically you deduct a few IQ points because of how we sound. I struggle with this a lot, thinking, because I can hear myself in recording and I'm going, man, who the hell wants to hear me sound like fried cornbread talk for an hour? You know what I mean? So I struggled with it to even start this podcast from the get-go. And nobody's going to listen to what, over here sound like deep fried collard greens. Sometimes I do get a little heavy on the accent, and I know that. But so out of all that came the Dukes of Hazzard. And it showed one, it revealed a lot. So before I get into that, I'll say this. Critics said that this show would never make it past the first commercial break. They'll get canceled right off the rip. And here it is. See, that was 78. Sorry, June 26, 1979 is when the show debuts. It's at this time for the first season, if I'm correct, at this time it's sitting at a 9 o'clock hour. So it was more of an adult show. If you watch the early episodes, if you watch the first season, yeah, you can kind of see where it's geared more towards adults. Well, over time, it changed down to the 8 o'clock hour because they noticed that, these young kids are watching it. And if you ever watched any of the Dukes of Hazzard, you know why. The car. I'm still sorry, and it may not be a popular opinion. Catherine Bach, yes. Pretty, absolutely. Pretty. Yeah, like attractive, the way men were drooling all over. My personal opinion, not really. Sorry, it may it may not be a very popular opinion. I apologize, but that's my opinion. I didn't meet her when she came to a reunion. She stayed, I think, 1 day or so, and I think she dipped out. I think her and Tom left early, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway. And if you're watching this and you were at the Dukes reunion in Byron in 2012, leave a comment below. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Like over here, subscribe over here, or vice versa. Click like and subscribe. Share this video. I surely, definitely would appreciate it. So from what I remember, the very first episode is called One Arm Bandits. I haven't watched that episode all the way through in years. So it was to me what this show did. Like they said, it wouldn't last past the first commercial. Over the course of 7 years, we're talking about what I think the reason why it really got popular. My take on it is, one, finally something from the South is finally recognized as a positive. It represents us. Whether it's in the music, in the family, because in every episode, what you would see is Uncle Jesse, Denver Powell, and I'll go over the characters, each an individual. Denver Powell being the family patriarch. Thank you, Jill Billy. Jill Billy's in the chat. She is the wonderful fiance of. Is he Chief, or is he Senator Kiefer now? I know a couple episodes on his show, he was talking about Senator Kiefer. That has a nice ring to it. But what we had was Uncle Jesse being the family patriarch. He holds the moral. He's like the moral compass. Almost, if you really watch the show, he's almost the He's almost the moral compass for the whole town. And like a lot of people, even though, like Enos would, hey, Uncle Jesse, Cletus, which is what inspired this whole, Before we get any further, I'll say, I know I mentioned it on Instagram. Rick Hurst, who played Depty Cletus Hogg, which was in the show, he was Boss Hogg's cousin. He passed away last week at 79 years old. Rick Hurst, if you know your TV show and stuff like that, or movies. He's the father of Ryan Hurst. If you don't know who Ryan Hurst is by name, he played in Remember the Titans. He was the white quarterback kid. He also played Opie in Sons of Anarchy, and he played one of the characters in The Walking Dead. I kind of lost track of The Walking Dead, and it got to be the same thing over and over again. But yeah, so that's Ryan Hurst, Rick Hurst, son. But Rick Hurst not only was in the Dukes of Hazzard, but he had several things. So since this is kind of inspired by him, I didn't look up his personal information. But so where was I? Good Lord, I can't hardly read my handwriting sometimes. All right, so going from the top, we got our balladeer, Waylon Jennings. We already got that out of the way. Our balladeer, the man who does your color commentary. He tells you what's going on. And matter of fact, he also guest starred in one episode of the show. It was kind of, he knows it's a show, but he's in the show and they don't know they're in the show. I don't remember how that all goes, but he's telling a story about, anyway, you got to watch that episode. It's very confusing, but don't think about it too much. The only thing I didn't like about the Dukes of Hazzard as a whole, but I think there's only one time, maybe twice, that there was a continuation. There's like a part 1 thing and a part 2 thing, but there was never a continuation. They never even extended the stories out further than just that episode. Or maybe, like I said, in the case of the part 1 or part 2 thing. And if somebody, well, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. If somebody was in the episode, say season 2, episode 3, you never heard any more about them like after that. Then there was no real continuation. They just, ADHD. Okay, moving on. All right, with next episode. Okay, moving on. Next episode, So that was the funny part about it, that I always kind of, they never did recalls from other episodes. You remember when we crushed that Rolls Royce that had the money, the fake, what was it? The plates, the money plates in it, like Jeb Stewart. Yeah, I think it was Jeb Stewart Duke. Yeah, Jeb Stewart. That was weird. But so we're not going to get into the whole peripheral Dukes members. So we had, right off the top, we had what does it say? Oh, yeah. So right off the top, we had Tom Wopat. We're talking about a stage actor, a very talented stage actor from Wisconsin. He tries out for the show. He actually tried out for Bo's part. They called him back later and said, "Hey, would you come read for Luke?" And John Schneider was actually, I don't think he was even 18 when he tried out for the part. They wanted somebody that was a little older, 21 to 26, I think, that age range, to play the role to play Bo. He came in wearing a Budman t-shirt, carrying a 6-pack of PBR, and he got the part. So it said he was from Snellville, Georgia, which he wasn't. He was actually living in Atlanta at that time, from what one story says. Another one says he wasn't. He was still living in New York, but I think I've heard him say in one interview that he was living outside of Atlanta somewhere. Like he himself legit saying Marietta or something like that. So he tried out for Bo. He automatically got the part. As soon as he walked in wearing the Budman t-shirt and carrying the PBR and the ripped jeans, driving an old beat up truck, boom, he got the part. That's Bo. That's him. But Catherine Bach was another one. She was kind of doubtful that she was going to get the part when she walked in, because the part of Daisy, because she wasn't blonde and she wasn't, built like the blonde girls you see in the other TV shows, like Charlie's Angels and stuff like that. She was, kind of thin, a little thin, her build and dark hair. And everybody just kind of just looked at her in astonishment. It was like, you're perfect. You got it. Sonny Schroyer, I think he was kind of grandfathered in from the Smoking the Bandit, along with Ben Jones. I didn't get their story parts. Rick Hurst, he was brought in obviously as comic relief. They said when he was around, his whole demeanor, his energy, he liked to keep people laughing. He liked to show love and support. And that's another thing about the whole, when we're watching it as kids, we don't realize that these actors, at least, especially on this show, and what they found as the show progressed is it became a family. Like, not even just on set, not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera, when they're not shooting a scene or they're not doing, whatever, they were a very close-knit family. So they would tell John and Tom and Catherine early on, if you have any questions, go see Denver. Uncle Jesse, go talk to him. If you have any questions, any concerns, or anything like that, go see him. Go talk to him. And, they would get some insight, or if they were struggling with something, situation, whatever, they go talk to him. So, where's I at? I'm trying to keep the timeline, It's like there's a lot of information. You got to make sure your timeline's right. So we're talking John, Tom, Catherine Bach, Sonny Schroyer, Ben Jones, Sorrel Book. This is where we want to lean into. We're talking about a gifted, very gifted. First of all, he was a Korean War veteran. Spoke 12 different languages. This man, in one of the episodes, I don't remember which one it was, one of the episodes, they said they were doing, practicing, rehearsal. They were rehearsing, and Sorrel Book is sitting in his chair during rehearsal, and he's doing the entire thing in I think French or German. He also spoke Russian. So Sorrel Book, not only that, well, first of all, he wasn't really fat. It was a fat suit. A little inside baseball here. All right, Brother Turtle, take care. I'll see you online later. Yep, I'm going to get on some Call of Duty in a little while after I'm done with this, and run in and go get me a chicken sandwich or something. I don't have any food here. So Sorrel Book would do his lines, and there's another guy who's a very, I can't remember the episode, but there was another guy in that one episode, and they both did right off. It's just a bad guy. You would see bad guys change. That's the only continuation thing. The bad guys sometimes will be in another episode later on. And that, so a lot of people sit there and would try to make the show out to be racist because of the Confederate flag. Now let's cross that off our list. I know we're in here 35 minutes deep, but let's face the elephant in the room. First of all, it's a car. Any way you cut it, any way you, whatever, it's a car. It's a car inspired by NASCAR. That's why you get the 01 on the side. The General Lee was based off of and created in the show to be a race car, because they would do the Hazzard Derby. They would, I mean, you had to have, General Lee had his horse Traveler. You had, who was it that had their horse? Who was the Lone Ranger's horse? Silver. You gotta have some awesome transportation, right? Okay. Anyway, bright orange. Well, not even really orange. It was Corvette red. We're not going to get into the color of the car. I'm just going to leave it there. I know what it is. Dan and I, we know people that know the stuff. It's a reddish orange. I call it Corvette red. Other people call it this, that, the other, whatever. I'm not here for that. I'm just talking about the cultural impact of the show. So, to me, I think people try to talk negative about it because it's a show based in the South, when half of them were from the South. Denver Pyle and James Best, one, he was in the Andy Griffith Show. So was Denver Pyle. If you go back to what, the 60s, I think. So James Best, who played Roscoe Coltrane, I did get to meet him. He was really cool. He's a very sweet man. Sonny Schroyer, when I met him at the Dukes reunion, I actually have a signed picture of him, but it's packed away. He was really nice too. Very nice. Even though it was warm. I think it was in the middle of June, if I'm not mistaken. Can't remember what time period that was, Dukes reunion. Let's look it up, shall we? Byron, Georgia. Dukes reunion, Byron, Georgia. Oh, it was March 2013. Well, my memory's off. There are some videos on YouTube. I remember that now. Yeah, it was the beginning of 2013, but it was hot that day. I remember that being a very warm March. Well, we had fun. I had a blast. Anyway, so we got James Best, a very, very skilled actor, and another little inside baseball thing. The little thing that he did, he started that playing around with his daughters, chasing them around the house, things like, I'm going to get you, stuff like that. And they'd get y'all giggling and all riled up and stuff like that. And it would just, so he did that right off when they kind of changed the time from 9 o'clock to 8, when they changed the time to a more kid friendly, then you could see him start doing the whole, the first season was actually filmed in Covington, Georgia. If you can go up there, you can find it on YouTube in different locations around. The first General Lee jump was filmed in front of the courthouse in Covington, Georgia. You can't drive on that same strip. I think it's all blocked off, or they built it up, so you can't drive on that same where the dirt ramp was when he jumps over Roscoe's car. And to me, one of the best jump scenes in the whole show was over the, oh gosh, what is it? Snake River. Help me out here, Dan. He's in the chats. Snake River. What is that? That main, it's a huge, phenomenal jump. Let me see if I can find the image on it. So we're talking about cultural. You want to talk about cultural impact? Then we're talking about 40, 79. So 46, 47-ish years later, almost 47 years later, people are still wanting to watch the show. It's still on Amazon Prime. There's still reunions. There's a big car club in Ohio. The Northeast Ohio Dukes General Lee Club or something. I'm not a member of that club, so I don't remember the name of it, but I'm going to find this image. Hang on. Let's see. Well, I misspelled that. Fat fingered that a little bit. I'm back off my laptop, so I can hardly see where the R in the ER is. R's. Let me find this image. It's just like this straight. He comes downhill and just boom, right towards the camera, and the camera kind of pans. It's in the opening sequence of the show. You know what? I'll play it. Watch this. Making the way they know how. I hope that song gets stuck in y'all's head tonight too. Let's see. Dukes from Hazzard. There we go. Hang on. And pause it there. My earbuds are not connected. I think I know why. Hang on. Sorry about that. I'm gonna connect them now. Y'all bear with me. I apologize. Oh. I think one more. There we go. I'm busy looking for waterproof air intakes for my Dodge. Told you what to do. Put a breather on it, face it towards the windshield. It'll be good to go. Someday people will listen to me. All right, y'all ready for this?
Just a good old boy.
Can y'all hear it?
Never meaning no harm. heart. Beats all you never saw. Been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straightening the curves, flattening the hills. Someday the mountain might get 'em, but the law never will. Making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit old.
I don't want to get dinged, so hang on. Got to work on the sound. I want to make sure. I don't want to. I mean, not like I get demonetized, but because I don't make anything off this. There we go. Microphone. All right. I'm saying, man, that it brings back memories, doesn't it?
Just a good old boy.
See if they show this jump right here.
Fighting the system like a true modern day.
So yeah. We'll get to the ending. We'll play it. Get it. Brings back memories, though, don't it? I mean, tell me, you didn't watch this show. You didn't watch that show and automatically want to. Unfortunately, it made it very hard for us to acquire a 69 Charger and paint it orange. And I'll tell you this, though, I would never, ever, and all respect in the world to those who have their own General Lees and their own ways. We, Dan and I, and y'all, those that followed here for long enough, you know that we have a good associate, friend of ours. It did change throughout the series. You're right. Dan says the ending instrumental changed throughout the series. It did. But Rob Kibbe actually owns a General Lee we actually affectionately call known as Kibbe Lee. I've seen it at Mo Party last year. By the way, if you're around Kentucky, Bowling Green, Kentucky, this year, I'll see you there. But I wouldn't have a General Lee. I think it's because it's too done. That's what everybody wants to do: get a 69 Charger and paint it up like a General Lee and do all the things. Which great if that's your deal. That's awesome. Do your thing. I'd have my own. I mean, if I had a 69 Charger, I don't know what color I'd paint it. What about y'all in the comments? So, the music itself, the show, it would, I think what it did for us was it brought a lot of things to light. Good old-fashioned, home upbringing, a simple life, which if you watch the show, it really wasn't simple. You had bank robbers coming in and out of town. You had people wanting to steal cars. You had counterfeit people. Good Lord. I mean, the list goes on. It went on for 7 years or 7 seasons. And in one season, which we will bring it up here, season 6, Tom and John and a few others left because they felt like they weren't getting fairly treated. Okay, I mean, that's fine. If you don't feel like you're getting fairly treated by anybody, you don't need to stay there. Season 6 was, who was it? Coy and Vance. You know, wasn't a bad thing. It just tried to make it look like, oh, here's season. Was it season 5? I thought it was. Yeah, sorry, season 5. My bad. Season 5 was Bogus Dukes. You know, and just a lot of people weren't happy with it. I mean, Tom and John weren't exactly happy either. But you know, it's no, you're gonna work your behind off and get mistreated. Yeah, no, or not get the fair royalties that you're owed. I mean, I understand it. I'd left too. So, let's see. Yeah, so we're talking going back to Uncle Jesse. And I this hit me as I'm doing my show notes, and I wrote it down. I thought it was really cool. If you think about it, Uncle Jesse was everybody's uncle before Uncle Phil, before the Fresh Prince. Uncle Jesse was everybody's uncle. You know what I mean? Let's see. I don't know. I honestly don't know if you could actually the cool. I don't know if you could actually redo this show. The cool thing about this show as well is when it relates to the. If you look at it a certain way, it wasn't so much that. It wasn't so much that it was a small country show. It was. The show was reflecting people who were down to earth, who were self-sufficient, who fought corruption, or fighting the system is what they called it, fighting the system. Matter of fact, in the opening credits, you'll see in the very first episode, it's Bo and Luke. They fight the system. And by that meaning the corrupt people, whoever they are, you know, Boss Hogg. I don't know that you could really consider Boss Hogg was more greedy. He wasn't evil. He didn't want to hurt or kill anybody. You know, you could actually find out in other episodes throughout the whole thing where they would, yeah, we'll just do away with the Dukes. No, don't, you know. And he would, no, don't. But what you don't know is as the show went on that Uncle Jesse and Boss Hogg, they grew up together. They grew up running moonshine together, you know. And then Boss Hogg goes into I'm the law, you know. I'm on the side of the law now, and all this. Yeah, right, man. You corrupt as you run moonshine still. He just wanted the Dukes out of the way because, well, they know what you were about. It's kind of weird, like if you look at it, how everybody else in the town was kind of either they just played along with it just so they wouldn't, you know, you never really saw a whole lot of people coming out of the woodwork going against Boss Hogg or the corrupt sheriff or anything like that. They just either kind of went with it or they just never brought it to. But that's something I picked up on. Sonny or the Enos Strait, you know, he was the county's oldest virgin, you know. So it, you know, the whole thing about fighting corruption, being self-sufficient. One episode when they were actually caught making moonshine. No. Oh gosh, I can't remember one of the episodes where Bo says to somebody he wouldn't ask anything from the federal government. He'd rather Uncle Jesse would rather starve than ask the federal government for help. And I understand that. I mean, hell, I've been there. I'd rather starve than ask federal government for anything. Self-sufficient. You know, we could live without the government. I'm not saying this is one of those episodes where I'm anti-government. I'm just saying, folks like us, I could live without them. Definitely live without paying taxes to them. But anyway, if you really look at it, going back to the NASCAR, that's how moonshine, running moonshine. That's how NASCAR was created. Junior Johnson, prime example. Running moonshine, run from the law, man, run from the revenue man. That's where, stick it to the man. That's where, the whole NASCAR, and of course the theme of the entire show really, talk about the pairing ups of the different characters, of the different actors over the entire series. Sorrel Book, or Boss Hogg, and Roscoe were pretty much teamed up to be kind of like the Laurel and Hardy of the show, you know. And then you had Daisy, Daisy was Enos's love. Like, he absolutely loved he loved Daisy. Cooter Davenport, initially, he was rough around the edges. He was kind of, if you looked at him, he looked like he grew up, he was raised by a pack of apes. But as the show progressed, he was cleaned up a little bit more and got a little bit more serious about, who he was, so to speak. But he was the only mechanic in a town. That's one thing that I noticed too. He's the only mechanic in a town when all they did was wreck cars, race cars, and all that. So yeah, he had plenty of business. A few times, I think once he came close to, or he actually did lose his shop to Boss Hogg in one of the deals he had going on. I don't remember if he actually lost it or not, but good Lord. Yeah, really. Whatever that means. I don't know what that means. So yeah, like I said before, for those of you listening, I do engage in the chats. Dan X said today Enos will be called a simp. And that's the thing for me. And I catch myself every once in a while wishing that times were simpler. I want to move to a small town, Dukes of Hazzard Town Square, where everybody kind of knows everybody. I didn't want to sneeze. I thought I was about to sneeze. I didn't want to sneeze in the mic, blow everybody's eardrums out. But I would, sometimes I kind of like, man, I can think back, I can watch that show there and just like, we'll go back to my mind. The show had such an impact on me, and my mom will say this. Yeah, I couldn't even tell time, but I knew when the Dukes of Hazzard came on TV. I don't know if it was like the position of the sun or what, but Dukes of Hazzard was on TV. I'm inside, in front of the TV, like this. Does it say cross-legged on the floor? But, I had all the die casts I could ever, matter of fact, I still have 2 or 3 of them in my collection. But I had all the die casts. I had everybody's cars, the Jeep, the Roadrunner, Roscoe's car. Let's see. Yeah. So we're going to end this here with we're going to wrap it up with just naming a few of the stunt folks because they worked hard. That was the only show, I think, at the same time that did have an entire second unit, running at the same time they're filming the regular stuff. You had your second unit doing all the stunts, doing the jumps and things like that. They would wreck one generally every episode, and I think 5 cars. If I'm recalling Paul Baxley. So you had Paul Baxley, you had his nephew and his nephew's kid. You had I think Gary Baxley, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Corey Eubanks, and they would all do what they would call. They would ask them in interviews, how do you pull off the stunts? How do you judge? Because, I mean, dude, we're talking about world-class stuntmen. And one of the greatest shots I've ever seen. Let me see if I can pull it up. I really want to show y'all this. This is great. It's 2 cop cars heading right for each other. Let's see if I can't. No. I think it's a Roscoe and Enos crash. Let me look. I know y'all can't see it. But it was really cool how they pulled it off, man. 2 cars heading for each other, and they hit head on. And then when they hit, the whole thing turns and falls down into this. I mean, it has to be pretty much dead on. But over time, there's been so many. I can't find the video clip. But I wonder how, and that's probably why you can't hardly find any. I tell you what, if I could, that's why they're scarce. Exactly. I would love to find an old Plymouth Fury cop car like that. That'd be cool. Or maybe get a current Charger police car and put a Hazzard County badge on the side of it. I went through Cooter's Place online earlier, and I almost bought a Hazzard County sign to hang up behind me on the wall, and I think I will after I move to my next house. So we'll have the display of the whole signs behind me again, and we'll have, yeah, give me a Hazzard County pin right here. Ding. But yeah, I wanted to share all that with y'all, man. It was really cool, kind of go down memory lane and to get all the information from the show in itself. You know, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about morals, just Southern good old boys. You know, and I think it was across the country. It was an international hit. It wasn't just the South. International. You know, I've heard of people coming from, I think, I don't want to say Denmark, but it's somewhere over there. Brother Notchkin, probably, or Sweden, came over here. Dudes from Sweden knows what it generally is. I think there's a cat down in Australia that knows it. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just a Southern culture thing. It became a part of international culture as the show grew on. And I just, you know, like I said, going down memory lane, watching the show, watching this documentary, it was really cool. It was really cool. So I know that Dukes of Hazzard on Amazon Prime, and I think there's a few box sets still out there for sale. So yeah, y'all want to, yeah, thank you. Thank y'all for being in the chat. It's Johnny, Tyler, Marines Blood, Dan Atkinson, David Wood. I think he was in here. Brother Turtle was in here earlier. Miss Jill Billy, thank y'all very much. Don't forget, click like and subscribe. Go on to Spotify as well, iHeartRadio. I'm kicking off more episodes. I got 2 more episodes to download over to update on Spotify, with the exception of this one that we're on right this moment. And so, Marines Blood, I'll ask you this question since you're in the chats. I don't know if you can respond or not. Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you. Love you too, Tyler. So, as we do every episode, we got to talk about our wonderful and amazing veterans. Operation Tackle Box, which I do have my hat. It's just upstairs. I actually washed it. So it has a leather patch. It smells way better than it did. It smelled like feet, ass, and armpit. Y'all know what I mean? I had the link pulled up earlier and I exited out. And when I went to go live, I noticed that our buddy, our buddy Chief Keef was on. So I figured give him a minute, let him do his thing. Kind of lets me update some things anyway, but let's see. Presenting. There we are. All right. Every episode, I like to talk about Operation Tackle Box and what those guys do for our veterans. Healing Through Reeling, combat veterans helping combat veterans. They are on Facebook at Operation Tackle Box. Instagram, Operation_Tackle_Box. You can go in there and click shop now, and they have some super sweet swag. Say that 3 times fast. Huge. They're huge supporters of our veterans, doing whatever they can do, they will do for the veterans. Family-owned, operated team, focused full-time on planning out fishing expeditions for the veterans. Full plans for helping veterans get whatever they need. GI Bill, VA claims, absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. Like I said, when Brother Turtle, our beloved Brother Turtle, was injured in a motorcycle accident, Jake, when I got to the hospital, Jacob was my very first phone call. Called him, let him know what was going on. Gave him the address of where Turtle was, the room number, all the information. Told him, hey, man, this is where we're at. And this is what happened. And he, put things into motion. Even still, Brother Turtle is still healing, going through some procedures, thing like that. But he'll get back. So y'all, thankful for the love and prayers and support for Brother Turtle. They also, and it's not on here, you can see it more on their Facebook page. They're also starting to do off-road runs, side-by-sides, Jeep trail runs, stuff like that, off-roading. I think they got a Cherokee. Let me see if I can pull up their Facebook. It is based in Sonora, Georgia. Let's see if I can pull this up. I want y'all to see what they're talking about, man. This is some cool stuff they got going on. Hang on, bear with me. There it is. All right, I'll share the screen. There. Yep, that's it. All right. So they're working on this 4-door Cherokee. right there for trail riding. Combat veterans having combat healing through healing, reeling, and wheeling. There you go. Healing, wheeling, and reeling. Or wheeling, reeling, and wheeling. Yeah, that's about it. So y'all go on there and check out. Go on to Facebook, give them a follow, give them a like. Check out their content on Facebook as well. There is a phone number if you ever want to reach out to them. Email otb2019outlook.com. So if you're a veteran, you need help, there's a Facebook page. You can reach out to him. Jacob is very friendly. He's very down to earth. So y'all go check them out. If nothing else, even if you don't want to buy a hat or a shirt, and they have stuff for females and kids. So if you don't want to buy either one of those, you can still go in there and click donate. Send them a donation. Every dime, everything helps. Y'all know that. You know, we're all grown here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But all right, with that being said, everybody, I hope y'all have a great week. Follow me on Instagram because I do post daily videos if it has anything pertaining to do with what we talk about here. There's a lot of music history that goes on every day. I usually, if you don't see me post that day, then there's nothing that's, you know what I mean, associated with what we do. I'm not going to get on here and talk about any pop star. How about that? We'll just skip a name. Anyway, I hope y'all have a great week. Everybody stay safe. Stay hydrated. It's getting hot out there. We're counting down the last few days of the month of June, Men's Mental Health Month. So get out there, touch some grass, stay away from poison ivy and Virginia creeper. It is bad. I got some scars on my hands and on my arms from that mess. So, but yeah, seriously though, y'all, for real, get outside, get in some sunlight, touch some grass, decompress. And if you do have anything on your mind or on your heart that you really need to talk about, man, reach out to me, Facebook, Instagram. If you have my personal phone number, you know, I'll talk to you, call you a wuss, laugh at you, whatever it takes, man. Because believe me, I'd rather talk to you at 3 o'clock in the morning than talk about you later on. You understand what I'm saying? You know, no matter what it is, everybody suffers in some kind of way from PTSD, anxiety, stress, depression. Believe me, I've been through it all and nothing. I need you here. And I'm going to get serious on you. I need you here. I need y'all, you know, because one, this right here has nothing to do with me needing you here. This is just me spending time hanging out with my people, my friends. But we need you here. Keep your mind straight. Marines blood, I know you're out there working. Stay safe. Tyler, Johnny, Brother Dan, when you're out there on the road, stay safe as well. Whatever your shift ends, Marine Bloods, I hope you get home. Praying for traveling mercies. We will see y'all later on next week. New month. Ooh, it's 4th of July. Matter of fact, Monday is actually my birthday. Is it? Hang on, let me look. Not tomorrow, a week from tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, I hope y'all have a great one. Love y'all. Peace.